So moving on, in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to enable VPC Flow Logs using Terraform. And the reason why we want to have Flow Logs enabled is so we can capture IP traffic that's coming in and out of our VPC. So in order to do this, the first thing I'm going to do here is within my modules folder, I'll open a new folder and I'm going to call it VPC Flow Logs. And within this folder here, I'm going to create 3 files: the main.tf, the variables.tf, and our output.tf. I also have created a reference file where I was able to isolate everything that we need to create each resource, and I'm going to be sharing that as well. So I'm just going to create the file right now. I'll call it reference.tf, and then I will paste in every resource that we need within this reference file. And then I'm also going to just comment it out. Then I'll paste it here in our main.tf. So now we're ready to start working. So as you can see here, it says we're going to generate an IAM policy document, and we're telling AWS that we're allowing the VPC flow logs to be able to assume this IAM role in which we are going to create right here in the next resource block. So as you can see, the first resource we're creating is the AWS IAM policy document, and I've called it VPC Flow Logs Assume Role, and you can see the action is saying STS Assume Role. The type is a service, and the identifier is going to be this VPC Flow Logs in which we're trying to enable on our VPC. So moving on, now we're going to create the IAM role for the VPC Flow Logs, and the resource type is the AWS IAM role, and the VPC Flow Logs role here is the resource name, the reference name that I've given it. And we're going to call this by our project name, that's VPC Flow Logs role. So I'm going to reference our project name here by typing var.project_name. And I'm also going to open our variables.tf here so I can create the variables as I work. So I'm going to create the variable now for the project name. So I'll start by typing variable, and I'll call it project name. And this is how we've been calling our project name. This is how we've been naming our project name throughout our entire project. So the next argument here says assume role policy, and it's going to be this policy we generated up here. So what I'm going to do is I'll copy it all the way to the quotation mark here, including the data, right? And then I'll paste it on line 16, and then I'll clean it up. So I'll take away this quote and type .json, because it's going to be creating a policy in JSON format, which is going to have the appropriate permissions for the IAM role, such that the VPC flow logs can assume it and write the logs into the CloudWatch log group, in which we're going to create in a short while. and I'm going to take away these two quotes as well and type a period, and this quote here, I'm going to take it away and type a period. The next argument, I'm just going to enlarge this so we can see. The next argument we have here is to attach the manage policy that allows writing to the CloudWatch logs. And the resource type is this AWS IAM role policy attachment. And the reference name I've given it is the VPC Flow Logs attachment. And the role is going to be this IAM role in which we just created here. So I'm going to copy this resource type and reference name. I'm going to paste it here. I'll take away these two quotes, add a period, and at the end, I'll add another period here and type name. So this is everything that we need here to be, everything that we need to create our policy document and our IAM role and then attach it. We're not explicitly stating what permissions we need. We're letting AWS determine what permissions that our VPC flow logs are gonna need in order to be able to contact our CloudWatch log group. So I'm going to save this. We don't need to create any more variables. We only needed to create one variable, but we do need to output a few names. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this variable. I'll save it, and then I'll close this main. Then I'm going to open this output file that we have here, and the only thing that we need to output here is going to be for our VPC Flow Logs ARN. So I'm going to type output, press enter, and the name I'm going to call it VPC underscore flow underscore underscore logs underscore row underscore ARN. That's what I'm going to call it. And for the value, I'm going to put the equal sign. And in order to be able to get the value, I'm just going to open back this main.tf right here to the side. And I'm going to find our row. So I'll copy this. And then I'll paste it here. Take away the quotes here. I'm going to add a period. I'm going to add another period here and type ARN. So far, this is everything that we need to create our role and policy. So I'm going to save it. And then I'll close this. I'll close the outputs as well. And then I'm going to go back into our main project folder. I'll open the main.tf, scroll all the way to the end. And the first thing that I'm going to type is I'm going to just type a note that says create flow logs IAM role. Obviously, I have to comment this out. And then the first argument we're going to type in is module. And we're going to call it flow logs IAM role, just like we did here. Enter. And then the first argument is going to be source. And we're going to be getting our source from two directories back in this folder called VPC Flow Logs. And what I've just noticed is I might want to rename this folder. Just add a role, just because it might confuse me a little bit, so I'll just add row. And now we're ready to start inputting our arguments. And really, the only argument that we need here is gonna be the project name. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna type project name, the equals, and we're gonna be getting our project name from our VPC module in which we created here. So I'm just going to reference module dot VPC dot, and I'll copy this value, the argument in this case, and paste it here. And this right here is everything that we need to create our IAM role for VPC Flow Logs. The next thing that we're gonna do now, moving on, is we're gonna create our CloudWatch log groups. So what we're gonna do here is, so in order to create our CloudWatch log groups, the first thing I'm going to do is I'll just go ahead and close these. Just make sure I save them. I'll close this as well. And then within our modules directory here, what I'll do is I'll open a new directory and I'll call it CloudWatch log group. No, that's a file. Then to open a folder and call it CloudWatch log group. I'll press enter. This is not right. There we go. And then I'll open the new file for the main.tf, and then another file for the variables.tf, and one more for the output.tf. I'm also gonna create one for the reference file in which I created for this lecture. So reference.tf, and then I'll just copy everything that I have from my reference file, and then I will paste it here in this reference.tf. I'll save it and comment it out, and then in the main.tf I'll paste it. And with this, we're ready to start creating our CloudWatch log group for our VPC Flow Logs. And the first resource we need to create is obviously the log group. And here's the reference name I've given it, AWS CloudWatch log group. And for the name, we're also gonna call it by our project name dash log group name. So for the project name, I'll type var dot project underscore name, because that's how we've been spelling it, and it's gonna give you the red squiggly line, of course, so which means we have to create our variables. I'm just gonna save this and close it. I'm gonna close this reference file as well. And then for the first variable, it's gonna be project name. And then I'll go ahead and create a few more variables. So we don't have to do it later. Okay, so the next value here is retention in days. So basically this means that how long do we want to keep these logs in CloudWatch before we go ahead and get rid of them. And for that, I'll create a variable for it, and I'll call it var dot retention in days. And then I'll also create the variable for it in the variable file. And then the next argument here is tags. And for the name, I'll call it by var dot project name. Moving on now, the next resource is to enable VPC Flow Logs. And here's the resource type, AWS Flow Log, and the reference name I've given it. And the log destination will be this CloudWatch log group we created up here. So I'll go ahead and copy the resource type and reference name. And then I'll paste it and take these quotes away, add a period at the end. I'll add another period and type ARN. The next argument is log destination type, and for the value we're gonna type CloudWatch logs. Just make sure I type that in correctly. And the next argument here is traffic type, and for the value we're gonna type all in all caps. And the next argument here is VPC ID, and for the value we're going to reference our VPC. So I'm going to type var dot VPC ID, and then I'm also going to copy this and create the variable in a variable file. The next argument here is our IAM-role ARN, and remember we created the IAM role in the previous module, and we outputted the name. So if I go, just gonna find this right here. If I go here and I go into the outputs.tf, and we outputted the name as VPC Flow Logs role ARN. So I'll copy this and in our main.tf here under our CloudWatch log groups, I'm gonna reference it by typing var dot, and I'll paste this here, but I'm also going to create the variable for it in a variable.tf file. And for tags, I'm gonna call it by our project name. So var dot project name. And with this, we have everything that we need to create our CloudWatch log group and enable our VPC Flow Logs. So I'll save this. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to output a couple values. So I'm going to open the output.tf right here, and I'll start by typing output. And the first value I want to output is going to be our flow log ID. It's going to be our flow log ID. And for the value, I'm going to go back into the main.tf, and I'll copy the resource type and the reference name, go back to our output, paste it, type .id at the end, and then I'll take away these two quotes and add a period. And then the next resource I'm going to want to output the value would be our log group ARN. So I'll type log underscore group underscore ARN, And for the value, I'll go back again to the main.tf. I'm going to copy this, go back to the outputs, paste it, take away the quotes, add a period at the end, add another period and type ARN. And with this, we're set. We have everything that we need to create our CloudWatch log group and our VPC Flow Logs. So I'm also going to save this. I'll just save all actually. And then I'll close this. I'll leave the variables open. And then I'm going to go back into our main project folder here, main.tf. I'm just going to move this to the side. Scroll all the way to the bottom, and then I'll leave a note. Create VPC Flow Logs and CloudWatch log group. The first argument here would be module, and I'll call this module VPC Flow Logs. I could call it CloudWatch log group. Yeah, I'll call it that. And the first argument would be source, and we're gonna be pulling our code from our CloudWatch log group module. So equals 2 directories back, and I can probably just select it. And then what I'm going to do here is I'll copy all the arguments we had in this module in our CloudWatch log group module, and I'll paste it here, and then I'll just clean it up. And clean this up as well. I'm gonna save this. So I'll just close this. Okay, so now the first argument we have is project name. So we're gonna reference our VPC module right here. So in order to reference the module, we're gonna type module dot VPC dot and then project name. The next argument we have here is retention in days. And for this, I'm gonna open the variables.tf here in our main project. Just open it to the side. I'll create a new variable called retention in days. And I'm gonna reference it by typing in var dot retention in days. The next argument here is VPC ID, and we're gonna reference the module dot VPC underscore ID. The next argument we have is VPC Flow Logs role ARN, and it's gonna be referenced from our Flow Logs IAM role module. So I'm gonna type module dot flow logs IAM role, and then I'll copy this dot and paste that there. And then what we need to do now is I need to go into our terraform.tf vars file. I need to update this particular variable. So I'll copy this. I'll paste it here. Delete this. And I'll type 7. And the reason why I'm having 7 is there's no particular reason. You can have whatever number here. I'm just gonna do 7 because I'm just gonna say my VPC should save the logs for a week and then delete them. And then I'll save this. I'm going to save all. Close this. Close this as well. I'm just gonna consolidate these. And then I'll type open in integrated terminal, or I'll click on that. And I'm just gonna type Terraform FMT. And then I'll type Terraform in it. It's gonna initialize Terraform in the backend. Then I'll type Terraform plan. And it's just gonna show you a plan of everything that we're gonna be enabling on our AWS environment, which is quite a lot. And then I will type Terraform apply. And while it applies, I'm just going to pause the video, and I'll just come back when everything has been applied correctly on our AWS environment. So I did run into an issue. Basically, in this folder here, it's saying that this managed policy is invalid. And the way to fix this is to create a custom policy instead of a managed policy. So I went ahead and did some research, and I created the policy that had the correct amount of permissions. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to paste that policy in here, and then I'm going to try again, and let's see if it works this time. I think it should work. And our resources have been added onto our environment. So I'm just gonna do a quick walkthrough of everything that we created so far. So if I switch on to my AWS environment here, and if I click on CloudWatch, here I can go into the log groups and click on this PCI-DSS log group we created. As you can see, here we have that 1 week retention period that we set. And remember, we called our log group by our project name, and then log group name, VPC log group name. So if I go back now and I go into IAM and I click onto roles, here I can search for VPC log group role, this one right here. I click on it. Here we have the role we just created. And if I click on this permissions and I switch on to JSON, here you can see the statement that was created after I changed from the managed policy to the custom policy. And yeah, we have been able to create our VPC Flow Logs and our CloudWatch log group. And if we actually go back to CloudWatch, back into the log groups, and we go back into the one we just created. Now, if I take a look at this, here we have a few of the log groups, and I can filter down to the last 30 minutes. So we don't have much going on the past minute, but last 30 minutes or the last hour. Yeah, and with that, that's how you create a CloudWatch log group alongside the Cloud VPC Flow Log row and VPC Flow Log to capture that IP traffic that goes in and out of your VPC. And with this, I'll see you in the next lecture.